Justin Goodman is the Vice President of Advocacy and Public Policy at the White Coat Waste Project. He's been following this story since the very beginning. Justin, thanks so much for coming on here. In your findings, what was surprising to you? Did you find out if taxpayer money could have gone to the Wuhan lab and it was used to fund gain-of-function research that allegedly caused this pandemic?
So here's what we know. Back in April of 2020, our organization exposed that taxpayer dollars definitively were used by the Wuhan Institute of Virology for experiments that involved manipulating coronaviruses. There was a $3.7 million grant that was given to a U.S. nonprofit called EcoHealth Alliance. And that money, part of that money, was funneled to the Wuhan Institute for these dangerous coronavirus experiments that now experts believe, from the Biden administration to the Trump administration and beyond, likely caused the pandemic.
We just had Congressman Guy Reschenthaler to back up your claim that you're making right now, saying that a week ago he found $1.1 million was funneled into EcoHealth Alliance there. And he's pressing for more answers on that. And again, the president, the new information here, the president ordering this investigation to double down on it, to have this investigation done within 90 days. But again, this wasn't done at the beginning. Now you have Senator Rubio questioning Fauci about why he initially dismissed this lab leak theory. Here's that.
Why did you dismiss the lab leak theory as credible?
I have always said that the high likelihood is that this is a natural occurrence. I didn't dismiss anything. I just said it's a high likelihood that this is a natural occurrence from the environment of an animal reservoir that we have not yet identified. Well, and I still maintain that. But as I just mentioned in response to other questions, that since you don't know 100% about that, because no one knows, including me, 100%, what the origin is the reason why we're in favor of further investigation.
Justin, if you don't know 100%, wouldn't you leave all possibilities on the table?
Absolutely. The lab leak hypothesis is Anthony Fauci's inconvenient truth. We know that he directed funds to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. The NIH was aware that this lab was doing experiments that involved going into the mines in southern China, capturing coronavirus-infected bats, bringing them back to the laboratory, and then manipulating coronaviruses so they were more infectious to animals and to human cells. And that's the crux of the lab leak hypothesis. If that is the reason that the pandemic began, then the U.S. government and the NIH in particular are culpable for that.
The White House still, again, falling back on the WHO, falling back on the findings of China, they're still saying they are committing to working with the World Health Organization. Listen to this sound.
We've talked about making sure that we are getting the data, right, from China, right, making sure that we're getting more information so we can, it's hard to prejudge these things, right? It's hard to make pronouncements of something when you don't have all the information that you need. So this is going to take some time. This is going to continue to work with the WHO as well. These are not mutually exclusive. These are happening at the same time. So it's going to take more collaboration and more conversations as well.
Which also begs the question, how much confidence does the United States have in the WHO?
We shouldn't have much. I mean, the WHO's so-called investigation into the coronavirus origins to date has been plagued by conflicts of interest and interference by the CCP, and a dismissal, a basic dismissal of the lab leak hypothesis, when virtually all of the circumstantial evidence that exists out in the world right now points to the lab as the cause of the pandemic. So we should have no faith in the WHO at all. The Biden administration's about face seems to be an attempt to save face for shutting down the Trump administration's investigation, the investigation that started under the Trump administration into the lab leak hypothesis, which really compiled some of the most compelling evidence in favor of the lab leak, including that workers at the Wuhan Institute were sick in fall 2019 with symptoms consistent with COVID, that the Chinese government, the communist government, has interfered with investigations, that the lab had coronaviruses in its library that were 96% similar to the one that caused the pandemic, and the list goes on. So while it's a welcome development that they're calling for an investigation to see what intelligence the U.S. has, hopefully it's not too little too late.
All right, Justin Goodman joining us live again with his findings and weighing in on this topic. Very timely. Justin, thanks so much. We appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.